Good morning, everyone. Um, this is our next lesson, continuation sa atong lesson before, which is the ionic bonding. And before we already discussed this, let's have a review first. If we say binary ionic bonding, binary means you have two elements involved. So one is a metal and one is a non-metal. That's why we call it ionic bonding. Ionic bonding means you have one metal that's releasing the electron while the non-metal receiving the electron or electrons. So example, we have here the beryllium, which is a metal. It's here in the second group. While nitrogen is a nonmetal, which is here. Now the numbers on top is they are the number representing the valence electrons of the element. For example, since beryllium is under the second group, it has two. It means it has two valence electrons, and since it is a metal, metal has weak electronegativity. Then that beryllium metal releases electrons. So the two electrons will be released. That's why our B beryllium element becomes B2 plus. And for our nitrogen, nitrogen is a nonmetal, and nonmetal has strong electronegativity, and it also uh, gains electron. So the two electrons released by the beryllium will be received by the nitrogen, and it doesn't mean that we need only one beryllium and one nitrogen here. So you will know later on in the chemical formula how many berylliums and how many nitrogen are involved after we do the crisscross method in getting the chemical formula. So nitrogen has five valence electrons, and to make it stable, it needs three valent electrons to make it eight all in all, following the octet rule. So it means nitrogen must have 3 minus in its charge when it is in its ion form. So we have beryllium 2 plus and nitrogen 3 minus. Crisscross 2 going to the bottom of our nitrogen and 3 going to the bottom of our beryllium. So nara and mawa na na ihang plus and minus, and the chemical formula becomes beryllium 3 nitrogen 2. And this method is also true to any combination of metal and non-metal. But you need to follow some of the other rules as well. Later, I'll give another example. So what is the name, before we go to other examples, what is the name of this Be3 nitrogen 2? And by the way, the numbers here at the bottom is no longer the charges. The charges are the ones with the plus and minus, or the oxidation number. So this number at the bottom is the indication of how many berylliums are there in this compound and how many nitrogens are there in this compound. So there are three beryllium atoms, and there are also two nitrogen atoms being combined here. And the compound name is just the name of the cation and the name of the anion. So the whatever name of this, that's the first word, and the second word is the name of your anion. So this is beryllium ion, so it's just beryllium. This is nitride since it's a nonmetal, so it's nitride. So all in all, the compound name is beryllium nitride, and that's it. So the same to another example. This other example, calcium and also oxygen. Calcium is a metal. It is also in the second group, which we can say it has 2 plus because it's gonna release those two valence electrons. So 2 plus. And our oxygen belongs to the group where there is 6 valence electrons. And that 6 valence electrons need 2 electrons to make it stable, or to make it like same as the noble gases. So O has 2 negative since it needs 2 electrons to make it 8. So if we crisscross this, the 2 here goes to the Ca and the 2 here goes to the O, it becomes like this: Ca and then 2 and then O, 2. But again, you need to follow another rule. If you see numbers like this, you need to reduce them in their lowest term. So their lowest term, just like in your math, if they have this number that are numbers that are divisible by a certain number, just like this, 2 and 2, they are divisible by 2. So we can simplify that. So both of them can be divided by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. So we can just say Ca1O1 or CaO. Okay, so I hope that's clear. So if the numbers are divisible by a certain number, divide them with that certain number. And as much as possible, the numbers must be in simplest number. So the compound name is just the name of the cation and the name of its anion. So the cation is just calcium ion. The anion is oxide since it's a non-metal. So we call it oxide. So complete name is calcium oxide. Next, copper, which is a transition metals, but don't worry, transition metals all the time, they will give you right away the charge of the transition metal. It could be different charge. It could be 2 plus, 3 plus. But here in our example, it is already given as 5 plus. So copper 5 plus. And then the element Se, selenium, of course, it has its ionization number. I mean, the oxidation number, which is the charge under its selenium is under 6 valence electrons. So it means its charge is 2 negative because it needs 2 electrons to make it stable. So selenium is 2 negative. Now, doing the crisscross, 5 going there at the bottom of Se and 2 going there at the bottom of copper. So it becomes Cu2Se5. Okay, now naming. The naming of this, you should name the same way. Again, name of the cation and name of the anion. So what is the name of this cation? The name of this cation, remember, it is a transition metal. So transition metal, same way. You just name the metal copper, but you need to include the charge number. So whatever charge of that copper, you need to include that, but inside a parenthesis and in Roman numeral. So since it's 5, you're going to represent it with V. So copper, V. So that's your cation. While the anion, this Se2 negative, is selenide. So complete name is copper V selenide. Now, you might be confused. Some of you are confused about how to name this because they're looking at this. They're looking at this. Now, you might say, "Oh, why not 2? Why not 2 here in the parentheses?" No, the 2 there indicates there are 2 of the copper atoms. It didn't say the charge of the copper. So what is the charge of this copper? So obviously the charge of this copper, Cu, is the 5 in Se because remember we crisscross it. It means this 5 is originally here in our copper. So if we just like reverse engineer the everything or reverse the process, so the 5 is actually owned by copper, which is its charge 5 plus. If you don't have this, if you don't have this copy, then you might be like having trouble how doing this. But again, the technique is just reverse process this formula, the chemical formula. So the 5 is originally from the Cu. So that's the charge of the Cu. So that's why we're going to use V instead of 2, not the 2. Okay? Because the 5 is the charge of the copper. Because we're going to name the compound based on the name of its cation. And remember, naming the cation is in transition metal is using the name of the metal and the charge number. So this is the charge number. The V here is the charge number. Okay, another example, titanium. Titanium is also a transition metal. And we have an example here given already, the ion of the titanium, which has 4 plus. Sulfur is under the 6 valence electrons. It means it has 6 valence electrons and it needs 2 electrons to make it stable. So sulfur is 2 negative. Now, crisscross, if we do the crisscross, it will give us like this, Ti2 and then S4, which is true, right? If you do the crisscross, like 2 will be going down to Ti and 4 will be going down to S. So this is the answer. But again, you need to find the simplest form of their numbers. So it's 2 and 4. They can be divided by 2. So the answer becomes 2 divided by 2 is 1, 4 divided by 2 is 2. So the answer becomes Ti1, which is invisible, and then S2. And the naming, again, if you're not sure, if you're looking at this, you might be like tricked on how to name this because the 2 is here, and then if you put it back, you might be tricked. Oh, um, it says 2 here. No, you also need to look at S. If you return the 1 here, which is invisible, if you return it there, it will give us the impression that S has 1 negative charge, which is not, because S must have 2 negative charge. So it means this is reduced by dividing 2. So you need to multiply them by 2. Once you, if this is only the case if you encounter this kind of situation. Nga kanira ang gihatag ha, kanira ang gihatag, and then you need to find the name. But if you already know the ions, then there's no problem. You just name their ions, and that's the compound name. So titanium 4 sulfide. And in continuation for this, we have the what we call as ionic bonding with polyatomic ions. It means there could be a chance that the cation has multiple atoms or multiple elements, or the anions have multiple elements. And these are the what we call as polyatomic ions. And the term polyatomic means there are more atoms, different atoms in one ion. Like for example, uh, 1 plus as charge. Oxidation number is also charge number. Okay, if we say that's also the same charge number. Oxidation number, charge number, the number that we see here with the plus and minus. So here it says it's plus, it means this is a cation. Okay, this is a cation. And the rest are negative charges. It means they are anions. Okay, so for example, let's have an example. We have lithium ion with 1 plus, since lithium belongs to the first group. So lithium 1 plus, and we're gonna pair it with this anion. So our lithium is the cation, and our anion is this, the one encircled, C2O4. Okay, bear with me with this one, class. Um, lisod jud kayo basta maggunit og mouse niya magsuwat C2O4 to negative. And this is the anion. Now, you might be like intimidated looking at these elements, C and then oxygen, and they have like numbers. Don't be intimidated. So just think of this as one chunk of element. And then this is the charge that you need to do crisscross. So just think of this as one whole thing. Ang permi dyan magkuyog nga dili mausab. Kuyog dyan na sila permi C2 and O4. Di dyan na siya mausab. Okay, kung i-crisscross nato silang duha, the result becomes ang 1 mapadung sa ubos sa ato ang C2O4 and ang 2 maabot sa ubos sa atong Li. So mahimo siyang Li C2O4. Now, asa man mabutang ang 1? Kung imo ibutang diri ang 1, careful ha, kung imo ibutang diri ang 1, mahimo siyang 41. So, in reality, nadyo na siya parenthesis diri. Na parenthesis. Meaning, ang 1, iyang gi-cover ang C2 ug ang O4. So, meaning, kailangan na ay C2 one time and O4 one time as well. Pero since 1 naman na siya, pareha naman ang result, mao nang wala na lang nato gibutang ang parenthesis o ang 1. Okay, that is only true for ones. Okay? Now, what is the compound name? The compound name is still the same. Whatever the name of the cation plus the name of the anion. So, lithium is the name of our cation, and the name of our anion is oxalate. So, the name is lithium oxalate. That's it. That's how easy to name polyatomic ions in ionic bonding. Okay, next. Mg2 plus is our cation, and our anion is HSO3 and 1 negative. So 1 negative since it's just 1 negative. So I'm going to write it down. Our anion is HSO3, 1 negative. Now again, i-crisscross nato siya. So mahimo siyang Mg2, Mg1, okay, na 1 ra invisible, pero pwede ra nato di isuwat. And then HS, pero medyo na magkuyog ang HSO3, dili na sila mausab-usab, kuyog na sila permi. Then ibutang nimo ang 2 diri sa kilid. Pero kung imo ra siya ibutang diretso dira, mahimo siyang HSO32, which is wrong. Because ang pasabutan ng 2, kailangan kaning grupuha, mahimo silang twice or kaduhaon sila. So, we need to put parentheses. Okay? Before you add the 2 during the crisscross. So, kaning 2, kung ibutang na nimo dito sa kilid, kailangan na i-parentheses ang original nga HSO3. So, ang answer is Mg parenthesis HSO3 parenthesis 2. So ang pasabot ana gikaduha ni nato kaning grupo ha, gikaduha na nato para mahimo siyang compound with the magnesium. So the compound name is the name of the cation and the name of this anion. So the cation is magnesium, the anion is bisulfite. So magnesium bisulfite. So asa nakita ang name to ra? Na diri. These are the names. And last example, calcium 2 plus. And then our anion is this nitrite here, which is 1 negative. So it's NO3, 1 negative. The same gap on crisscross. Ca, ma-receive na niyang 1, pero ang NO3 na may 2 nga mabutang, so butangan ni mo parenthesis. And that's it. And what is the name? The name of the cation Ca2 plus, and then the name of NO3, which is nitrate, not nitrite, light ni, dili ni mao, kundi kani nitrate. Be careful with that. So the answer is calcium nitrate. And that's it. So for your assignment, you need to answer this in the Google form. I will attach the Google form in the Cengage. So just click that Google form, answer this on a piece of paper, click take a picture of your answers. So your answer must be first the ion form of each of the words, each of the word, like for example, sodium. What is the ion form of sodium? So it's Na. Um, Na is 1 plus in your periodic table. Make sure that you know that. Nitrate in your copy, nitrate is NO3 1 negative. 1 negative. And then combine them. So, inanin yung pag-answer tagsa-tagsa, ion sa duha, and then i-combine sila, which is late, kamo na mo answer. So, the chemical formula dayon. Chemical formula. So, again, ibutang siya sa um, papel, picture, after answer, and then attach sa Google Form. If dili siya ma-attach sa Google Form, na instruction dito sa Google Form, kung dili na siya makadawat o kanang ay dili ma-upload ang imong picture sa Google Form, nay gi ibutang dito nga i-send lang nimo sa katong email. So pwede ra nimo i-send sa email through Google Chat. Okay? So that's it.